This is going to be another installment in a series of videos that I've been doing just to kind of wind down the year, in which I rank the various studio albums of classic rock bands. And today I'm going to be covering The Who. Now, like I've said before in my other videos, I'm not saying that, my opinion is better than anyone else's. These lists are strictly the albums that I prefer, from my least favorite all the way up to my most favorite. So going to start with number 12 for The Who, and that album is going to be It's Hard from 1982, I believe it was. This album really is a piece of garbage. There's only really a couple tracks on it that I can say I actually enjoy listening to. That would be Athena, Eminence Front, and It's Hard. The rest of it is just really pedestrian rock and roll. You can tell The Who were just trying to kind of, get it all over with. Pete Townsend was focusing more on his solo career, and the rest of the band, just that you can tell their heart's just not into it. The material's not there, and it's just really a lackluster album. So that I really had no problem ranking that one last. Number 11, I'm going to go with Endless Wire, which really is only, half of The Who. You've got Pete Townsend and Roger Daltrey after John Entwistle passed away, but they do a really good job of sounding like the classic Who. I think Man in the Purple Dress is great, and The Ether is a good track. Black Widow's Eyes is very solid. Almost sounds a little bit like something that could have come off of Tommy. It's Not Enough is another great track. Number 10, I'm going to go with Who, which was just released in 2019, 2020, I don't remember, but nonetheless, again, they really, Pete and Roger have done a remarkable job on this album in particular at rekindling the spirit of the old Who. There's tracks on here that sound like they could have come from any Who 70s album. I Don't Want to Get Wise is a great Who track. All This Music Must Change just sounds like something that could have come off of Who Are You or Who by Numbers. Really classic sounding Who album, and I enjoy the heck out of it. Ball and Chain was a great track. That was the first single that was released off of it, but a solid album, and definitely one that I'm happy to have as part of my collection. Number 9, Facedances. Just really a step above It's Hard. I'm ranking it higher than Who and Endless Wire just because John Entwistle is on it. Although, I'm really not. The Quiet One is not top-notch John Entwistle song. Maybe one of the weakest songs that he ever wrote for The Who. But it's got You Better You Bet on it. It's got Don't Let Go of the Coat, which is fine. But there's some real clunkers. There's some garbage on here. And it's, Kenny Jones is no Keith Moon. But that being said, it could have been a lot worse. Number 8, I'm going to go with The Who's first album, My Generation. A great start. All the elements of The Who are almost there. They're still covering a lot of R&B. There's a Marvin Gaye cover. There's a James Brown cover. Pete is not, his songwriting is not yet up to the standards that he would set later for himself, but there's still some classic material on here. The Kids Are All Right is just excellent. My Generation, obviously, I think Out in the Street is a great track. The Good's Gone is relatively decent. You've got the instrumental track, The Ox, which is great. So, by no means a bad album, but there were much greater things to come. And speaking of things to come, my number 7 is The Who's second album, a quick one. Now, Pete was starting to get more ambitious in his songwriting. You've got the mini opera, A Quick One While He's Away. You've got Boris the Spider, which was John Entwistle's first really substantial and excellent songwriting product. Cobwebs and Strange, I like just because it's the only recorded, in the studio drum solo by Keith Moon, and it just keeps he just keeps getting faster and faster, and it's really a great showcase for just how much energy Keith Moon had and how he could just assault the drum kit like nobody else. I like Run, Run, Run. I think that's a cool album opener. I much prefer Happy Jack, the US version, just because it has the single Happy Jack on here. But I think it suffers because the idea behind the album was to have all four members of The Who writing songs so that they could get royalties and share them equally. But Keith Moon, his material obviously is not up to Pete's songwriting abilities. Roger's attempts are really pedestrian. Boris the Spider was great for John, but Whiskey Man, it's got John's sense of humor, but I'm sure, given more time, Pete could have written something, even better. But so quick one, I'm going to slot that at number 7. Number 6, I'm going to go with The Who by Numbers. Great album, great mid-70s album. The first album in a while that wasn't born out of a concept. But you got Slip Kid on here. Success Story is a great John Entwistle tune. However Much I Booze is great. Blue, Red, and Gray is a fantastic track. And just it hangs together well. It's almost a confessional album by Pete, but I think it's solid all the way through. They're playing great. The material is great, and just a really enjoyable album, freed from any, conceptual constraints like the previous albums. Number 5, I am going to go with the follow-up to Who by Numbers, Who Are You? A lot of great tracks on here. John Entwistle, actually, I think this might be the album where he has the most songwriting contributions, and he really comes through. Had Enough is great. Sister Disco is a great rocking track by Pete. Music Must Change, I love that a lot. Guitar and Pen, I like the title track. New Song is a great track. Just all the way through, it's solid, and kind of a nice way or a fitting way for Keith Moon to wind down his career, even though obviously when that album was recorded, nobody knew that tragically he was going to pass away within the year. But still a really solid, great Who album. Number 4, Who Sell Out from 1967. I love the pirate radio concept that drives a lot of the album, specifically side 1. Just so many excellent tracks, and with each album, Pete's songwriting is getting better and better. Even writing within the concept of commercialization and pirate radio, and just the cheeky message that the Who was trying to get across. Obviously, the big hit off it was I Can See for Miles, but you've got Marianne with the Shaky Hand. You've got the Rael mini opera at the end of side 2. I really like Odorono. I think that's got a great melody. I think it's a funny lyric. I like Tattoo is a great track. Our Love Was is fantastic. I Can't Reach You is one of Pete's best songs. Sunrise, could have fit very easily on Tommy. Just a great album all the way through, and one of my favorites. Number 3, I'm going to pick the epic Quadrafinia. I mean, it's a double album. It doesn't feel like a double album. There's no filler on here. The narrative is great. I think Pete, his songwriting is solid. Everybody shines on the album. Great bass guitar lines by John Entwistle. Keith Moon is, at the peak of his drumming prowess. Roger Daltrey sings it great. So many classic songs on here. 515. You've got The Punk and the Godfather. The Real Me. Love Reign Over Me. So many just classic tracks on here. And not a minute of wasted space. I love the little overture at the beginning. you know, that you have. I think just all the way through, the concept carries through very strongly, and it's just a tremendous Who album. Number two, another double album concept, and I'm going to go with Tommy. Number two is another classic double album concept record, and that is Tommy. Really the Who's first magnum opus. You've got Pinball Wizard on here, I'm Free, We're Not Gonna Take It, See Me, Feel Me, you know, just the whole of the Overture and 1921, you know, even the Acid Queen is great. Just how it all ties together. So many songs. Christmas is a great track. You know, I love everything about it. Even John Entwistle's, you know, sinister, you know, wicked sense of humor shines through. So many great moments on this album. Go to the Mirror is great. Smash the Mirror. You know, I could go on, but I just think, you know, from start to finish, you know, I love listening to that album, and I never get tired of it. Number one, I'm going to pick Who's Next, the double album that never was. Obviously, this was born out of the Lifehouse concept, and kind of like the Beach Boys did, where it was going to be, they were going to have the album Smile, and then they pared it down to Smiley Smile. Really, that's where the comparisons end, because I think, you know, Lifehouse might have been a case where a double album was too much, but they pared it down to the Who's Next album, and it's just so many classic songs. Any album that's got Baba O'Reilly and Won't Get Fooled Again, two tracks that really are rock anthems that are still played by contemporary rock bands today. And you've got Behind Blue Eyes on there, Going Mobile, The Song Is Over, Getting in Tune, John's My Wife, which is just, you know, such a great John track. Love Ain't For Keeping is a great track. Just the cover is awesome. I mean, what more can be said about Who's Next? I just have such an affinity for that album. My dad, that was the only Who album that my dad owned, and so I listened to that from a very early age and heard it around the house all the time, and I still, I love it every bit as much today as I did when I heard it as a little kid. So those are my Who albums ranked. As always, leave a comment. Let me know what your rankings are, or what your top 5 are, or your top 10. If you agree with any of mine, you know, anything that you want to contribute, I appreciate it. Hope you're doing well, and take care, and thanks for watching.